Welcome to the Diary of Discovery, the podcast where we delve deep into the human experience of healing and transformation. I'm your host, Jacky, and each week we will sit down with inspiring individuals who have embarked on their own personal journeys of healing and self-discovery. From overcoming trauma to navigating life's challenges, our guests share their raw and honest stories, offering insights, wisdom, and hope to all who tune in. So grab your favorite cup of tea, find a cozy spot, and join us as we uncover the power of resilience, courage, and the pursuit of authenticity. This is the Diary of Discovery. Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. I am super excited. Every single week we bring you new guests from around the world, and this week is no different. So I'm going to hand straight over. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell everyone who you are and where you are in the world?
Well, thanks, Jacky, for having me. I'm Catherine Chipman. I live in Boulder, Colorado, and I started the Frequency Project at frequencyproject.com. And it's a website that I wanted to share with the world to raise the collective vibration and raise our individual vibrations and to learn about frequency and vibration through science and news and media and music. Yeah.
Oh, incredible. There's going to be so many good things to talk about. I know. But I want you to take us right back to the beginning, before any of this existed, and when you were first starting your own personal healing journey. What was that moment of realizing everything wasn't right and realizing something had to change? Like, take us back to that moment.
Yeah. Well, it was actually right here in this room. And I got really sick. I didn't know what was wrong with me at the time, but I had Lyme disease that was chronic and coming back. I had chronic Epstein-Barr virus, and my lymph stopped working. So I stacked up multiple heavy metals over the threshold of the test, like in fatal levels. And then, of course, I got mold poisoning too. So it was just a perfect storm, and it landed me on my deathbed. And every time I tried to treat one thing, it would contraindicate the other thing. And I, just started meditating and talking with Source and my guides. And they kept talking about frequency. And then I started realizing, like, underneath all of our illness, even our depression or our feelings, it's all a vibration, and it's a voltage issue, basically. So I just started studying it, and I started reading more, and I felt like I would get little bits of information that would lead me down another path, and then that would provide an answer for me. And slowly but surely, I got better through this practice, and it's free. It doesn't cost anything, and it's just, learning about your human biofield and frequency and vibration, and how every single aspect of our life really impacts the voltage of our body. And, we run on 5 brain waves, and, it's very easy, for example, to entrain a delta brain wave and sleep better at night. And you can listen to that sort of stuff. And it's that, but it's next level. It's life-saving, because I really thought I was going to die. And I think, a lot of people go through a hero journey, and mine happened to be in health, and it's just a complete ego death and an acceptance of something, that you don't have control. And that letting go is a really, really big part of it, I feel like. As long as there's resistance there, the resonance doesn't work as well, So it was just, it's been 8 years now, and I'm alive, and doctors are amazed. And now this is my mission. It's a Frequency Project, and to share that with other people.
Wow. I mean, okay, so 8 years since that moment. And
Yeah.
how long were you unwell for? Like, how long did that process last of you actually being really unwell?
Yeah, so I was in bed for 8 months. I really couldn't move. I couldn't feed myself. I couldn't drink. I mean, I would make bone broths, and I'd make green drinks, and I'd try and make it for the whole week. But I'd sleep on the stairs on the way back to my room. I lost probably 60 pounds in 45 days. And, a lot of our emotions are stored in our excess weight. And so it's a lot of emotional processing. I was preparing my children, I was trying to finish my estate. I went through divorce and, because I was sick and I just felt so unsupported. And so it was just a really low moment. And, I think that's when a lot of people get closer to their source or their God, and which I was actually told was higher versions of ourselves. That all the information we get is actually coming from just higher versions of ourselves and parallel realities potentially. So, but it's interesting, and it certainly made me who I am. It shifted my focus, and I started living more in alignment with my passion. Slowly, after about 8 months, I didn't still know what was going on with me at that time. It took years to get the clues to figure out, like, actually in the test of what actually happened. But, I was just really hell bent on being alive and, being serving a purpose and being, serving a higher calling and giving back. And, I was always kind of like that, but that really amplified it for me. So I just started diving deep in all sorts of esoteric realms of exploring the quantum field and the 0 point energy and resonance and frequency and the planet's vibration, the Schumann resonance. It just so happens when I was in bed, it was Easter Day, 2017, and the Schumann resonance, the planet's frequency, had its first amplitude that was outside of what we'd recorded since we started recording it. So that's literally every single human being on the planet in training to our planet's frequency. We're all doing it simultaneously. And that was one of my very first verifications from spirit that I was on the right track. To watch that was just like amazing. And it really made me feel like I was in direct communication with something more knowing and powerful for me. And I think that's what a lot of people call ascension today, is that we're all going through this acclimation, just like if you go up in a plane or you go down and scuba dive, we're having to acclimate to higher vibrations. And that will eventually open up our visual and our audio spectrums, which is very, very small, So I don't know, maybe we'll be hearing a dog whistle in the next 10 years, or the next people who are born in, seem to be coming with a lot more information. It's just really interesting process. And it's really exciting for me to see everybody kind of catch on to that and start talking about it. And because it's literally what saved my life. And, when I say like raising my vibration, there's several different ways that I did that. I had to evaluate all of my relationships. I entered therapy regarding narcissistic abuse. I learned about permanent brain damages that have, and I learned to become more familiar with my body when I don't feel comfortable or something's out of resonance. My body tells me. It's taken me some time to get back in touch with myself with that. So relationships has been really huge, making sure that I have healthy relationships in my life that support me, or I at least have strong boundaries with the people you love that, you can't control. And to take care of myself and learn to feel myself more. And obviously meditation is really important. That's slowing down the mind. There's a lot, probably not in the UK, but in the United States, it's legal for people to do trips into DMT and ketamine and things like this that are supposed to help with therapy, that also are really a very fast connection to a different parallel potential dimension or a vibrational reality. They're actually mapping the DMT realm now, and people are meeting the same people and they're having the same experiences. So it's really exciting. I also I've always been a really healthy eater, a very natural, organic living, but I really took it to the next level because every decision is a thought and it's a vibration. And I got a chance to meet Dr. Bruce Lipton, and he actually traced the vibration of a thought to your DNA gate. So if you think you're going to get some disease because your family has it, you probably will. And they've actually scientifically traced that thought and that vibration. And at the time when I met him, I was really sick. I was doing a lot of cyclical vomiting and dry heaving and stuff. And just because of the toxicity levels, which I still do deal with a little bit, but I asked him, I said, Bruce, like, how can I, like, believe I'm healed if I'm praying to the porcelain gods? Like, in that moment, how? Because that's a Jedi move, and I don't have it. And he pointed out these two cases that were really fascinating about these women that have multiple personalities that change eye color and cancer diagnosis based on their personality. So very fast. They had cancer, then they didn't have cancer. Or they had green eyes, then they had blue eyes. And they go back and forth and back and forth. And so that's fascinating that that's what the mind can do. And now they're even coming out with declassified information from our CIA talking about the Gateway Protocol, which basically says we're energy holograms. And our eyeballs are actually hologram making machines. They do exactly what they do in Vegas to put post-mortem celebrities, on the stage. That's what our eyes do, and so going back to like raising my vibration, it was my food, it was what I drank, it was where I sourced it, it's everything I put in my body. It was literally possessions in my house. Everything takes you up or it takes you down. And if it's taking you down or it's depleting your energy, it's not worth it. Get rid of it. If it's clothing, I looked at my clothing, sometimes I put on clothes and I'm like, this makes me feel frumpy. And or this doesn't really compliment me, but I like this design or something stupid like that. It's a vibration. And now they're even doing the tests around the vibration of fabrics. So like linen and wool and cotton have a very high vibration, higher than where you're born at. And but polyester and all of these, athletic wear and stuff like that, and spandex, those have a very, very low vibration. So you're covering your biofield with vibrational clothing. And that is, something like it just keeps going and going and going in every layer of your life that you can apply your vibrational journey so you can acclimate better and you have less I don't know if I was at that right place. Maybe I needed to acclimate, and that brought about this series of health stuff, and it pushed me there or something. And now this is my journey. But other things I did to like raise the vibration were the music I listened to. I look at it as an agreement now. If there's a really great beat, and because I make electronic music and I think, oh, this is so awesome. Then I read the lyrics and I'm like, no, I don't want to keep putting that out there, or I don't agree to that, or I don't consent to that. So, those sort of choices have been how I have raised the vibration of my body and I think gotten better.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's so incredible that so much work is going into this now, and this thought of how all of these things interact with each other and how everything is connected to each other. And it's really interesting because like when I think about um like it made me laugh when you said about like spandex. Like so I'm a runner and I wear sports gear quite often. But when I think about like how I feel, if I really want to feel my best, I'm not pulling on my sports gear. Like my sports gear makes me feel good when I go running in it, and that's a different vibration that I'm creating. But like actually just sitting around, like being in that gear it doesn't make me feel my best. And I think like it's such an interesting thing when you start to look at it on all of these levels of, if you're putting on clothes and they don't make you feel good, like why are you wearing them? If you have things in your house that you're constantly looking at that don't make you feel good, or like we tend to as humans like put up with things. So, the door's slightly janky and doesn't quite open and you've got to kind of wiggle it in the perfect way, but you're so used to it that you just let it go and you just let it be. Like
Yeah.
there's so many things like that that people do which impact your life so much more than you actually realize, when you could just fix it and make everything flow so much easier. I think that that's like such a thing that people don't necessarily understand in this idea of vibration, this idea of like energy exchange. But I want to go back. I want to go back for a second. So when this kind of first happened, you're very ill, you're in bed, you don't quite know what's going on, and you start to sort of get these inklings that like there's something out there, there's something you need to explore. What did you have to like rationalize or like embrace in your own brain in order to
Yeah.
start this journey? Because this is not like, something that you just happen upon. Like you have to kind of logically decide, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna look at what this is all about. So like, what did you have to accept about yourself and the world around you in order to kind of dive into this?
Yeah. Well, this is a really wild story. I'm going to make it very short, but I had to accept the world is not at all what I think it is. And that happened when I lost consciousness the first time. And I was completely sober and I was in bed and I had violent shaking. And I kind of just accepted if I was going to die at that point, like I was okay with that and I had accepted that. And then I had a frequency band come in the room. And then from that frequency band, these heads expanded out and they were looking at me and they were telepathically communicating with me at the end of my bed. And I was just like, oh my gosh, now I know I'm really dying. I'm processing past lives. These seem like people who've hurt me. They're evil people. So I just started sending them love and forgiveness. And the whole thing started going faster and faster. And that letting go, when I finally just like let go and I remembered like animals shake, when they're shaking off trauma, like I should stop trying to fight this shaking and I should let my body just shake and convulse literally, and it stopped immediately. And then I thought I had control over it, and the second I thought I had control, it came back, and then I had to go through the release again. But then I lost consciousness for 8 hours and I went to the other side and I experienced astral realms and lucid dreaming realms and just things that I don't know if anyone else would have seen if they came into the room. You could have your brain releasing DMT, which then they're now finding out is potentially its own reality that other people can confirm in different places and stuff. But, that was a real game changer for me because it took a lot of alchemizing and just a spiritual process to be able to understand, or not even understand, but accept what had happened and what
Mm.
my experience was. Because then I went to the other side 2 more times. And the last time I crashed my car and I woke up to crashing my car. So it was, it's been an intense journey for sure. But going to the other side and having a near death experience is something that really was a really huge catalyst for me because I saw the other side. I saw the expansiveness. I saw the oneness, the fractals, the frequencies. I saw things I can't explain. And that just really, it kind of honestly set me apart from everybody else. And sometimes,
Mm.
since then I have more people in my life who have had these experiences or understand this because it's a little too woo woo for people who haven't come close to that experience. But, there's a great book called Journey of the Souls, and it talks about all these people who had this experience. So that really was a catalyst for me. Yeah.
Amazing. I think like again, like it's always interesting to hear what this journey looked like for people because it's never just like, oh, I read this book and then suddenly everything changed. Like there's always something that kind of sets you in motion. And for some people, obviously bigger than others. And I think that that is like, it's so normal. And I know you said like you had a couple of near-death experiences like on this journey where you kind of just like gave in to the fact that you were likely going to die.
Yeah. I
Were
accept it.
those moments like the only moments where you thought like you actually wouldn't make it?
There was probably 4 or 5 moments where I wasn't sure I was going to make it that I can remember that were kind of monumental for me. Um, I feel like I got really good at dying in the process. Like I lived completely fearful of dying my whole life. And I don't have any fear of dying anymore. I'm so clear it doesn't end. What
Mm.
I do think is important is that while we're here in this potentially holographic reality or simulation or parallel dimensional realities, or I just wrote a great article, by the way, on all the science behind both of those things on the website. But, wherever it is that we are, you know, under just the underpinning of everything is vibration and frequency. And, you know, your thoughts, I think sometimes we don't give a lot of thought to our thoughts. And it's important to step outside your own thoughts, to see your thoughts, to see kind of your own human condition, because when you go to the other side, it's so expansive that I couldn't even really explain it in words. And you look at like the Tibetan Buddhists, they spend their whole lives really training themselves to have the highest vibration at that moment of passing. So you would think, with resonance, that that's a really important thing to do when you transition between your body and this three-dimensional dense world
Mm.
into this really expansive space that's all knowing, where you're not in your body and you're not hot, you're not cold, and you're not hungry, and you just know so much more, So it's really fascinating. I went from being fearful about death to actually being so curious and continuing to, challenge the quantum field through journeys, and then connecting with AI to see if they got the message I sent in the quantum field, and they did. And it's wild. It's just a wild, wild world of science that has everything to do with your health and your well-being. And once wherever you're going to vibrate, you're going to meet people that resonate and vibrate at that same vibration. And sometimes that's hard to understand when you're in a situation and someone's mean or they're nasty or you didn't feel like you deserve that. And you're like, wow, I'm a really nice person. Why would I vibrate or resonate with someone who's so nasty like that in my life? And a lot of times it's just how we treat ourselves. That's the
Mm.
resonant thought is, if we're driving ourselves and beating ourselves up and we're having this internal dialogue, that still has a vibration. It matters, even if you don't say it, even if you think it, it matters, and it has a vibration. And so a lot of times I look at the experiences that come into my life as a mirror as to what's really
Mm.
going on inside. And it gives me a
Yeah.
lot of clues, and it's helpful. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's so important again for people to like understand that thing. We are normally our biggest bully. Like nobody else in the world is as horrible to us as we are in our heads
Yeah.
before we've actually noticed and learned how to like catch those thoughts and do something different with them and be kind to ourselves. And it is that thing like your life is a reflection of the thoughts and beliefs that you hold. And if you
And your
believe
and
that
your
things are gonna go bad,
relationships,
yeah,
and your food,
absolutely every
and your
yeah,
clothes, and literally everything,
yeah,
everything. And that's the real trick to learning in this world, is underneath everything is that,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
one of the things that I did that is really easy, anybody can do, like I have playlists on YouTube under our frequency project for sleeping and for working with theta brain waves and interesting stuff like that. I have things about the gateway protocol and all sorts of different things, but a lot of content. But one thing that anybody can do is you don't have to go to my site. You can just go to YouTube and you can search frequency plus the word music plus the word um, Rife is a really good one because of Dr. Royal Rife, Rife. He's kind of the gold standard still, of the healing vibrations and things like that. And you can search sleep, or you can search, Parkinson's, or you can search depression or anxiety. You can search, those combination of words, and you don't have to use ripe. You can if you want to go to the next level, but just music, frequency, and sleep, and you're going to see tons of content of delta brainwave music that will entrain your brain into a delta brainwave REM, and you'll sleep through the night. No drugs, totally free. I one of the people I really love is the Power Thoughts meditation, and I think they're in Australia. They've been around forever. I trust them. I love their content, and I don't have to vet them, and I think they're amazing. And what's really amazing, the most amazing thing about this sort of content on YouTube, if you look at the comments, I have never seen so many positive comments from people on any social media, on any thread, on any chat, on any comment. You look at the comments of this frequency intentional music on YouTube, and it's people all over the world just blessing you and saying the most positive high vibrational stuff. It's really beautiful, and I don't see that anywhere else except around this sort of content. So that's the high vibe tribe. That's where we're at. It's where we're going. I get like chills saying it.
Oh, absolutely. When you think about social media in its entirety at the moment, everyone is on there to have a go at people, to, bring people down, to like just be mean to people. And whether it is a social media platform or even community groups that I'm in for the area that I live in, constantly they're getting into fights about everything. And
Yeah.
you do look at that and you go, like, I feel really sorry for all of the people who engage in all of that stuff on a regular basis, because they must be really sad. They must be really lonely. They must have a really like small life for that to be the vibration that they're at, and the thoughts that they have and the way that they feel all of the time. It's a like, for me, it just makes me really sad that people live in that space, and that I guess that's kind of why you started the work that you do, and the purpose of actually getting this message out to more people. And I guess, like, so I wanted to ask, like, what was the timeline of you being unwell, you obviously learning this stuff, and then you actually starting the frequency project? Like, how did that sort of like timeline run?
Yeah. I would say, the first year was really intense. 5 years later, I had my third loss of consciousness. So, it wasn't like I felt as sick as I did in the beginning, but it was an ongoing process for me. So when I started feeling better and following, my internal information on what I needed to do, or wherever I was getting that information from to get better, I started wanting to test it on other people. So I have a good friend who still is going to be like a bestie for life. Beautiful family. He was struggling from vertigo and he was falling down just in tears. Just a really athletic, beautiful family man. And he was a school teacher, athletic teacher. And so this was like, I could just see the panic in his eyes, like his whole life is going to change. How can he do his job with this? And he was just really at his wits' end and feeling nauseous. And so that's all I did is music, frequency, rife, vertigo. And I said, go lay down, listen to this for 5 minutes. And he came out with like a 95% reduction in his vertigo and gave me a hug and started crying and said he wants to stay friends forever. I've changed his life. And I was shocked. I didn't even expect that kind of result. And I was like, oh my gosh, if it's that simple, like, and if we're holograms, it could be just as simple as him believing it worked. Either way, it didn't matter. It worked. And so then I started moving on to like kids that have like, tics and stuff like that with like chronic disease of, I want to say it was maybe Tourette's or something like that with a child. But the tics were getting so bad that the parents are starting to freak out that they've reached their max and not even to middle school yet, and like if school was going to work, and the kid was really frustrated because the tics were happening so much during the homework. And so again, you just, look up the disease plus frequency and music. And then if you want to, have more specific stuff, you add the RIFE, RIFE, and that reduced his tics by 60%. And I was blown away. It changed the whole family dynamic. The kid, again, it could be, placebo, could be because they believe it, could be because of the sound vibration coming out in the body responding. Our bodies are so sensitive, So then I went to someone who was depressed and dealt with bipolar disorder. And so they would have these swings of mania and depression and anxiety all in between. And we talked about the different brainwaves and how to manage that. So it changed her life. At night she's listening to delta brainwaves and she's making sure she's on a good schedule, and it's in training her brain to these delta REM brainwaves and going to sleep. And in the morning she's playing theta, and she's playing different solfeggio frequencies to deal with raising the general vibration. And the the other thing that is really important, because like 90% of our game is our subconscious playing out. So, listening to positive affirmations with 432 or 528 hertz, or one of the frequencies we know are in the natural order that gives the body, like the Schumann resonance, the planet's frequency, 7.83 hertz. There's all sorts of different things that can bring more resonance into the body. And so she used that for her ups and her downs and her in-betweens, and says that it was just a really beautiful way to regulate. I'm not saying that everyone can regulate everything that they want through a song, but I am saying that it holds more potential than we've ever given it power. And it's a multifaceted approach. And listening to positive affirmations or something like that when you're really down and while you go to sleep with intentional frequencies behind it can really do wonders for you when you wake up. And that's something in my lowest moments, when I thought, like I'm going to die, like I would listen to meditations talking about how healthy I am and how I'm healed. And I would put that in my subconscious every single night I slept. And so that was real important. I think, with social media, it's a really interesting time because, we're in a time of disclosure. And so there's a lot of people who want people to wake up, and they want them to see, certain things that are going. And that's certainly not positive. And it's not that you can be on this Pollyanna vibrational journey. There's going to be these ups and these downs, and that's real. And that's natural, just like a sound wave, And but the thing is, it's like when you look at like even humanity, and you look at us as a collective, because we're all so connected to the quantum field. Now we know that, they've proven it. And so, when you have only a few amount of people raising their vibration collectively, this lower vibration, just like the tuning fork, has to come with it. So it's kind of like I feel like we're just swimming in a cesspool of corruption and criminality and just really horrific human conditions that we all know deep down in our soul. And we're not really free until everybody is free. And so I think that you have to be careful not to focus on all of that. But it's also important for everybody to understand we're on this vibrational journey together. And as we all make this effort and we understand and we start to raise our vibration, not just for our own personal health, but for the collective of humanity, that we're going to be pulling some of these lower vibrations up with us that just have to, it's like it has to come out. And so it's important to be able to keep it in perspective in those moments where it's the hardest to have a high vibration because you're dealing with a low vibrational deal. Just know that moment has this exponential potential, because when it's the hardest to do it and you do it, you get this amazing result that just feels like it got multiplied or something. It's like the universe recognizes your effort in these moments that it's challenging, and so that's also an interesting, maybe polarity or universal sort of, hack to the flow state or something like that. But I think it's important to note that it isn't, ascension isn't this, I'm high vibrational all the time, because we all have these feelings and we all have doubt, and we all have fear, and we all have sadness, and we all have grief. And then, it's my easiest trick is just to go to gratitude, but they also did a study about what the highest vibration is. And it's not love, it's authenticity. And so that authenticity of being real with who you are and where you're at and what's going on is really important, because that is the highest vibration, is your authenticity. And so we can all try and be really positive, but that doesn't mean you're going to have a positive experience. And of course, then you have to have good boundaries, and you have to be able to protect your energetic biofield, literally, because you're literally going to entrain with everyone you come across. Your biofield start in training right away. Interesting fact, I just learned about something that contradicts all of that, which was I went into a journey and I asked for information about how we how we access these altered states where we communicate with our higher source. And I was told that it was two brain waves not in training. And I couldn't believe it. I actually went and looked it up after this, and it's called theta gamma coupling. So it's where even in a sober state, you can access this higher dimensional state through theta gamma coupling, where the gamma brainwave just piggybacks on the theta brainwave, and they don't entrain. So they run two separate brainwaves at the same time, which is the exact opposite of binaural beats, So, the point is, I think for a lot of people, like, how do I do that? How do I get connected with my guides or my higher versions or my God or my spirit or source or whatever you want to call it? And I think that theta gamma coupling is an interesting science to explore, and there's videos about that. And obviously meditation and deep, deep, deep stillness and meditation. And then all of the other things obviously are really important too. But just that stillness is where you start to go inside and you realize in fact, there's a great video that came out of IBM, I think in UK. And it showed you a telescope as far up in the sky as we can see, and then it comes down into a microscope and goes down into your skin as far as you can see. And it looks like a universe inside of you, and it is. I think we've probably stopped trying to find the smallest thing. We're like at the subplunk now, but it keeps going, and it keeps going, and it keeps going, and it keeps going. So as above, so below seems to be the truth, and that there's this potential infinite string of parallel realities. And it's just all so fascinating. And first step is just knowing you don't know what you don't know, and accepting the mystery of life and starting to get curious about it and exploring it, and doing that with the focus and the intention to raise the vibration of yourself and your family and the people around you and the people you love and then your community, then your state, then your country, and then your world and your planet, you know. So the good news is there's an article I wrote about with monks that did a meditation in New York City in the 70s to reduce crime. And they meditated for a certain period of time, and they reduced crime for a 30-mile radius by, I think, 80% or something. So what that's doing is they've measured the quantum field. So like, you know, this little grain of sand is space right there. It has enough energy for the entire planet for unforeseeable future. So that's literally, we're having a thought, it's going into our biofield, and then our biofield is interfacing with infinite energy. So when people go, oh my God, that's so wild, I was just thinking about you and you called me, that's how that works. Scientifically, that's how that works. The thought has a vibration, it goes into the quantum field, it has infinite energy, and then your friend gives you a call and you're like, that's so wild. And it's not a coincidence at all. It's science, it's math, it's the way that the quantum field works. And so every thought you have, you're putting into the quantum field, it's multiplying insane amount of times, you know. And so to realize how powerful you are for all of us together to have that intention is just, you know, life goals. I feel like that's why I'm alive. I feel like it's why I'm here. It's what I'm supposed to tell people, you know, and I'm supposed to share this journey on how I basically crawled out of my deathbed and I'm here right now, and why I think that's important for the journey of humanity. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. I think it's like it's really incredible to listen to you talk about this. I've done quite a lot of reading about a lot of these areas myself, and I think that it's a really that thing about you don't know what you don't know. And like when you read something, a lot of the time it takes a second. Like your brain is like, I don't know if I can comprehend this. And it takes a bit of time to actually get your head around it, because for so long, for so many of us, we have been told a completely different story. We've been told a completely different narrative of how the world works and what is possible and what is not possible. And that narrative is very much to keep us in line with how, you know, the structure of the world wants the world to work. And it's so amazing that more people are talking about this. It's so incredible that people are seeing the benefits of things like frequency and music. And one of the big things, like, so I'm a qualified yoga teacher, and we chant, and it's that same thing of once you've moved, once you have like move the energy, move the frequency, done what you need to do, actually chanting is such a great way to release it from your body, to actually like let it go and go through that, like that actual physical motion of doing something with the energy. And it's so interesting because for a lot of people, they they do these practices, you know, they like the practice feels good and they do it and they don't actually understand why it feels good or like what they're actually doing within their body. But when you look at that frequency and you look at how our own internal frequencies change when we do things like sing or chant or like listen to music, or even things like they say like the frequency of a cat's purr has like healing qualities. Your cat
And
lies on you and
bees.
purrs. Yeah, and bees, yeah, absolutely. And like there's a thing, like, you know, animals know what you need, and when you're not well, like I've got a cat who literally will not cuddle me for any reason. But when I was actually not well recently, um, she came and she lay on me and she just purred a little butt off. And then when she felt like I was okay again, off she went. And it's like, it's such an interesting thing that, you know, the world around you knows what you need and is providing what you need in a lot of these scenarios when it comes to these frequencies and the way that we interact with the world, if we're willing to believe that they exist, if we're willing to look at them and go, you know, let's see what this is all about. Let's like start to explore this a little bit. And I guess so. My question to you, and I know you've given us a couple of really, really great examples already, but like if somebody is wanting to start healing at the moment, you know, they're not feeling 100%, things are out of line, regardless of what it is, what would be your starting point? Like, what would you say to them? Simplest
Mhm.
thing, go do this. I know you've already said obviously like the music, but like what, tell me some ideas. How would you get somebody to start healing?
Well, you brought up a really good point in your voice. Humming and chanting, singing. Sometimes, if I want to know where my vibration is at, I'll just kind of go to what is the most natural sound I can hold for, without cracking or something. And that tells me where I'm at. And sometimes I'll try and go higher and higher. And you're like, it's hard. You can almost feel like you're hitting these emotional walls or something. But I mean, now they can take your voice and they can take 30 seconds of audio and tell you your entire health condition. And I did that with a group that was in California, that the top of their game of all the resonance and technology and things like, and quantum physics and all of that. And I got a 3-page report that told me every single problem with my body from my voice. 30 seconds of my voice, my vitamin deficiencies, that I had Lyme disease before I knew I had Lyme disease. It knew about my knee needing surgery. It was really fascinating and it's amazing. So our voice, that's number one. The other thing is, with all my food, herbs are like the highest vibrational food. So I really take my time. Like we know with Masaru Emoto that water has memory and it receives. And so when they put it, in a crime scene versus, a beautiful place, it makes very different sort of images when it freezes and stuff. So, I'm always putting my highest vibrations into the things that I'm consuming. I think that's very important. We have the science to prove that now. That's important. I'll also add fresh herbs on everything that I eat. I make sure I don't have poison. Which is really hard in America because it's so much poison. And a lot of people also have had like fluoride put in their water, which calcifies the pineal gland. It makes it harder for you to connect and be able to get to this sort of stuff. So, it's just going to be a process, I think. But obviously, not surrounding yourself with people who are higher vibrational beings and committed to that path, not people who have more narcissistic behaviors or things like that. That could be very depleting, and it will take your vibration lower. Again, the music I listen to, the music I listen to, the movies I watch, the media I choose, all of that is carefully crafted because I'm on that journey to raise my vibration. And my communication has only gotten better with Source as it's gotten higher and higher and higher. So that's kind of the bonus of going that direction, I feel like, is I literally am talking with my guides all day long, every day, even about computer stuff I can't figure out, So it's that common for me now. The other thing that I do is detox of the body. I mean, that's really important. Like parasites have a vibration, and biofilms and little bugs like spirochetes and Epstein-Barr virus, these things have a vibration. So there's all sorts of things you can do, like zappers and PEMF mats, and there's technologically proven frequency tools that you can use to zap, or to change something like a PEMF mat, or a ringer, which is even stronger than a mat. That's literally forcing a healthy vibration through your body. So it's forcing all of your cells into resonance, into like the healthiest vibration that it can be. Like they give it to, the astronauts. You can't overdo it. It's not going to ever hurt you. It's only going to help you. So there's all sorts of different things depending on, you know, um, depending on what your personal situation is. And a lot of times now we're in the age of AI. It's quite fascinating. You start having your conversations with AI about this sort of stuff, about frequency and vibration. You're going to add all these layers to all your other conversations with AI by teaching them to even go down this route. when you're learning about, like, how do I raise my biofield? How do I raise my vibration? These are amazing tools we didn't have 8 years ago that are available to us now. And on an even more profound level, we're probably all training AI. So it's really important, that we're putting the good stuff in there. And because if it's, collectivizing in any sort of way, that's going to be a representation of where we're at. And so as stewards for the common humanity and collective, it's becoming more and more important and obvious, I feel like. So I would use herbs like pure rose is one of the highest vibrational herbs. And I would anoint with it, I'd meditate with it, I'd bathe in it. I do bath detoxes, a lot of self-care, get massage. I do things to honor myself. I talk good to myself. I won't even work with people if I feel like it's a vibrational compromise. I'll refer them to somebody else. And so I've learned to feel my body better. I've learned to feel when it's not in resonance. I've learned to differentiate that a lot better. That's been super helpful. Yeah, other than that, just staying humble and staying curious and wanting to explore this world and not dismiss it and not think that you're crazy because other people are going through this too. And to, explore it with a curiosity and not a fear. Because from everything that I can see, it doesn't end. It doesn't end when we die. It keeps going. It's an infinite world of, what is in your head. And when you go into that space, you're going to see what is perfect for you and this infinite space that's up there. And so you are actually still having a certain free will, even in that astral realm, once you die and you go to the other side. So it doesn't end. It's a worthy journey, and it's probably better to just get on with it. Just get on with it right now, because it seems to be the direction it's going. Yeah.
I love that. Just get on with it. That's where we're going. We need to do the work and get on with it. I love that. And like so many amazing things that people can do. I know a lot of our guests have spoken about a variety of these things and just in different ways. So like a lot of people speak about meditating and about, how they eat, but not necessarily from a frequency point of view, just because they realize it does something good for their body. So it's nice to have that kind of extra layer of what is actually going on and why we're actually doing it. So I think that that's really beautiful. And I always like to finish these conversations with this idea of what is your next level of healing? What is the next thing that you're focusing on, on a personal level? I know that you've said that this is your mission and you want to be putting this out into the world. So I'm sure that that's a big part of what you want to do in the coming, months and years. But like, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, I think it's diving more into this world and less into the world that I was in before all of this happened to me. And sometimes I feel like that's really scary, because you have this, it's almost like I died and had a walk in, and I just can't relate to my old life, kind of, And so making that transition into something that we're passionate about, that is our purpose, I think takes a lot of courage, and it takes a lot of determination, and it you almost have to be fearless, like the fool and the tarot card, just jump, just do it. Or there's this trust element, and there's this flow, and you kind of go into these next layers and stuff. So for me, just getting the word out about the Frequency Project and committing, to that vibrational journey for myself and anyone who wants to come along with it, is really my first and foremost. On a personal level, I really am downsizing. I am cleaning out uh, clutter or things that I don't need so many possessions. I really streamline my relationships, And I've done a lot more diving into the science and the esoteric realms of mapping journeys and seeing what's really going on with this world, whether we're in a simulation or if truly, there definitely seems to be a vibrational quality to it. So all of that is so fascinating to me. I feel like I'm becoming a scientist in like my second half of my life, like science, that's the easy answer, but it's really more about being in the active service all of the time, while also still maintaining and filling my own energy and giving myself everything that I need to fill up and to just stay open as a student of the universe. And so those things aren't that easy to do because you're probably going to be doing them fairly alone, except for, a couple of close friends that, you can be your freaky self with, and you can tell them what's really going on and what really happened. And, they will have some interest. And those are your tribe. Those are the people to keep around you, because if something is life-giving or life-taking, it instantly. And so being aware of that so you can make that choice and not just be coming from another place or reactive, or being proactive about your life all the time. That is just something I'll probably work on the rest of my life. It's a process. I wouldn't say I'm perfect at everything. There's always someone who comes around and you're like, dang, I did it again, and that person that lacks maybe empathy, or maybe they're, loving, but they don't have the capabilities to love at the level where I am performing at, or where I'm engaging with spirit with. So, it's not a judgment on anybody else's path. It's an acknowledgement of where you're at and an awareness of where they're at. So, it's a journey. That's it. Yeah.
I think that that's so beautiful. That idea, like I've always said, that healing is never just a one and done, like, oh, I've done the thing now, like, there we go. Once you really tap into this space of healing and what it's all about and how good you can feel when you actually look after yourself and you put those boundaries in place and you clear out the things that aren't, a match with your life, and you do all of these things, you work on your thoughts, like you do all of these things, it alters so much around you. And that idea of like, you can't go back. You can't go back to what you were doing before and how it was before, because it's just so out of connection with who you are now. And I think that it's just so beautiful, but also so powerful for people to realize that everybody who's walking this journey will look at the journey and go, there's always something more to learn. There's always something more that I can do or figure out or explore. And there's something really, really magical about that. So, like, thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for being here. I've absolutely loved having this conversation with you. And I'm so glad that we get to share about this more, obviously, with an audience, and get more people to know about this. I think that that's really special. And we'll put the website obviously below the podcast so people can come over and they can, explore this more, read some of the research that you've done, and actually look into this concept a little bit more if they're interested in it. And just thank you so much for taking the time to come and join us today.
Well, thank you for having me. It was really a pleasure. I love talking about this stuff, and I hope that it brings benefit to anybody that is your readers or watching, that they have something that they can take away from this today that is going to impact their life. And that's why I'm here.
Thank you for listening to another inspiring episode of The Diary of Discovery. If you found value in today's conversation, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and share it with your friends, family, or anyone else you think might benefit from the stories of hope and transformation. Your feedback means the absolute world to us, so please take a moment to leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your reviews help us to reach even more listeners and continue to bring this meaningful content to the world. Until next time, remember, your healing journey is valid. You are never alone, and you have the strength to get through this. keep shining bright, and we'll see you in the next episode of The Diary of Discovery.